Okay. Hi, everyone. Hey, I had an idea today about offering a new way to share what I write and some of the work and the message that I like to deliver to the world, and do it kind of in a personal way. Do it like this in my home here in this beautiful environment. And I thought maybe it'd be a little bit more fun if I just read to you today's piece rather than simply posting it for you to read. So I hope you'll let me know what you think of this interaction. And if it's something you like, then I'll do a whole lot more of it because I really want to connect and share with people some of these deeper insights that come up through life, and particularly through my life with horses. So I would like to read to you today's musings. It is called Freedom from Conditioning. What is more desirable to any living being than freedom? What exactly is freedom, and why is it the nectar of life? And maybe most importantly, how can we realize this state for ourselves and others? Well, first of all, we must realize that freedom is not a state, it is truth. It is the essence of life. It is indeed the origin of all life. It cannot be lost. It can only be disassociated with. As long as the life force is breathing through our bodies, we retain our essential origin, freedom. And when the form of this life is complete, we remain as that. The form is conditioned, the animation is not. The conditioning of the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of life in form creates an illusion of reality that simply and sometimes dramatically masks the evidence of truth. The truth that all life is essentially free, but they cannot deny it. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl lives through the horrific life conditions of Auschwitz concentration camp, and he lives to write about freedom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Viktor Frankl. What more testimony do we need? Well, we need to find it within ourselves. Even such an offering as this will not suffice to free ourselves until we realize the truth experientially. Many people in our world today search for such meaning as this, and the search itself can often be a bread trail away from ourselves and our inner truth. How can we search for what, in fact, by nature, we already are? This is a subtle and massive realization. This can only come from the recognition that illusions are created through our belief in what we perceive to be the truth. In my work with horses, I have had a vast experience in observing the effects of conditioning. Just yesterday, I was helping a friend with her amazing young horse. This horse was trained by people who learned a certain method or technique to get the horse to perform tasks that would serve man. In other words, these paid professionals were conditioning the horse. What happened in this case is a perfect example of the very aspect of human behavior that causes war, suffering, brutality, and the ultimate fall from grace in the human kingdom. The trainer did not revere the life within the horse. He did not understand that the very source that animates the horse animates himself. His own conditioning created conditions that masked the greatest potential the horse had to succeed. I do not believe this is done intentionally by man. I believe it is done unconsciously, because throughout all time, man has lived through his conditioning. This is not an anti-life proclamation. Just the opposite. It is essential to life. What this realization points out is that what we think, feel, and perceive is constantly changing. This simple truth that is evident to all states clearly that our perception is a condition not to be relied upon. It's not to say it doesn't have a place in this game of life. It's only to say that it should in no way be the source from which we live. In the case of the horse, he was so conditioned that he no longer was aware of his choices. He simply reacted to the stimulus from a false source. He reacted purely from conditioning. For example, many trainers teach horses, especially young horses, to untrack their hind quarters as a safety precaution. It's a great example of man taking a good idea and making a fatal mistake out of it. This horse had been conditioned to do this so often that when the rider would pick up the rein to turn him, he would reactively freeze up the entire front half of his body so that he could move his hindquarters to the side. No longer was there a reason for doing this. It was simply his conditioning. In other words, the trainer conditioned the horse so intensely that the act no longer had meaning. And the real shocking result of this was that the horse did not even understand the meaning of the rein guiding him. He just resorted to what had been habitually driven into him by an unconscious technique. Speaking of horses, that's them in the background making all kinds of ruckus. Anyway, back to the blog. Hello. So to continue, I feel that what I saw in this horse is also what I see in the human race. People acting out their lifetimes as they were taught to do. No longer realizing the meaning, marriages settle into comfortable mediocrity and familiarity. Paying the bills, going to work, watching television, substance abuse, defensiveness, judgment, following the masses, and most of all, believing that we are separate from each other. All of this takes us away from the truth and the freedom of our own lives, of our own consciousness. We can step out of this maze of living an habituated life. It's truly quite simple. There is a door. Yesterday, I watched as this horse found his freedom. I watched his whole mind, body, and soul relax into his being. This took no time at all. He simply had to be shown the opening. And of course, the repercussions of his training continue to show up. And they may for a long time. But the true beauty in that moment of freedom and witnessing the value that it held for this horse will remain in my heart as an inspiration for the rest of my life. My teacher would say, I do this for the horse, for all the wrong things I have done. I feel these words in the depths of my soul. We are all joined in the search for meaning. We are all connected, and when one heals, we all heal. I can see in our world today that there's a shift happening from conditioning to meaning, and it is taking place all over the world. In my life, horses are the barometer for profound change. They indicate to me shifts in consciousness, both in myself and in the world. I wrote about this in my book, Perfect Practice, when I said, horses are spiritual enough to hold the presence of forgiveness for the world in which they live, and powerful enough to show us the value in harmony. It's as if horses are a barometer of our own true nature. And I'm here to say that there's good news coming. I see it in the good work of people sharing these realizations. Horses all over the world are now finding compassion and empathy in the eyes of human beings. They are bringing healing to the mentally and emotionally constricted. There are centers rising up to put horses as the guiding light to awareness. This is not some new 21st century philosophy. This is the truth coming forth as the conscious, undeniable life source. It's no longer hidden. It's becoming apparent that the old ways are outdated, that unconscious training methods are incomplete at best, and actually, in many cases, they're dangerous. Some horses can make it through such channels of conditioning. They are the saints of our world. But many other horses fall through the cracks and come out to teach mankind what not to do. I was one of these horses as a child. I was one that would not accept less than my deepest truth and meaning. I've always related to the renegades and the rogues in the horse kingdom. In fact, the very eyes of those frightened horses saved my life. I will stand in testimony for them all of my days, and I will continue to share the mystery and the perfection that I found deep in the heart of the horse. This perfect presence remains in us all. It is unaffected by the conditioning of beliefs that were created, perhaps even from a good idea, and then abused into delusion. There's only one truth, and it lives in every sentient being. In fact, it lives in all life. Once more, it is life itself. The truth is unchanging. It cannot be conditioned and be truth. And when we find this within our depths, within the heart of our own life, we begin to see it everywhere. That is the true nature, the essential nature of our existence. So, welcome to my world. Thank you for listening. And I hope you feel inspired and motivated to find more ways of interacting with each other, with our horses, with the land, with all beings in a good and true way that serves the greater good, that brings us all together in harmony. It is truly what is coming for our world. And I, for one, am all in. So I hope you have a beautiful day. And if you like the blog, please share it. I love that it goes out into the world. And thank you. Thank you so much. Many blessings.